mocks Raila Uhuru truce. We're still continuing the same discussion. He says the unity pact is a gentleman's agreement and anchored on quicksand. And he says the NASA co-principal, meanwhile, the NASA co-principal and stablemate, Wetangula, has quit the coalition in a huff. Our story is on page 5. I am done with Raila, declares Wetangula. And he says Raila did not only turn his back on me, but the entire nation when he allowed my ouster as a Senate minority leader. I want to tell him that this is the last time he got my support. I don't have any bitterness against Raila, but all I'm telling him is that my journey with him has now come to an end. I now have my own journey that will walk with my own people with a view of taking this country forward. We do have Wetangula's deputy party leader with us, Richard Onyonga. Yes. Is this the party position? Has this been discussed, or is it just personal politics?
Actually, we had a parliamentary group meeting, and we went through the analysis of what took place before the handshake, during the day of the handshake, after the handshake, and what has been going on since then. The truth is the NASA principals did not have information that the Prime Minister was going to have a handshake with the President. It actually came to complete surprise, a total surprise to all of them. And once the handshake took place, obviously, they felt offended for the simple reason that if you didn't inform them and you actually didn't say what the issues were, of course there was an agenda which had been put on the table by the NASA family, particularly on the, on the issues of voter the voter fraud which presumably took place, the issues which were outstanding, and the governance issues in this country. Once the handshake took place, it completely changed the political matrix. But, for example, my party leader's issue with the former Prime Minister is that even after the handshake and Honorable Wetangula, Honorable Mudavadi and Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka had been portrayed that they were cowards and they couldn't go for the swearing in, and as a result they felt, all right, that for them, the feeling that actually the NASA principals were holding was that they felt the issue of the swearing in of the Prime Minister needed to be handled differently because they didn't want to take responsibility in terms of if any fallout had come in, if there was violence and other things like that. So, fast forward, Moses Wetangula then discovers that, all right, we are now moving forward. The Prime Minister has already had a handshake with Uhuru. The three are no longer in the matrix. And then, boom, we are hit with this thing of Wetangula being kicked out of the Senate. There was a lot of negotiations and discussions. One group would say the Prime Minister had a hand in it. One group says the senators refused to listen to the Prime Minister. Others, when you discuss with them, they say, how can anything take place without the Prime Minister knowing? Of course, Honorable Wetangula goes home with a slap in the face, and as a result, we are where we are now. Wetangula is saying, I don't think I have anything to do with...
Is Fort Kenya out of NASA?
The general feeling I have is that Fort Kenya right now is trying to configure what to do with itself, what to do with ANC, which is Musalia's party, and what to do with Kalonzo Musalia's arrangement.
So NASA, as we know it, has ended? No,
it hasn't ended. Legally, it hasn't ended, or politically, it hasn't ended. What is there is that we are going to have to figure out the way going forward.
One principal has already declared this is where my journey with the other principle ends.
I think, to me, Honorable Wetangula is very pained, extremely pained.
So this is just from the anger?
It's from the deep down inside. You know, Honorable Wetangula went out of the country to fundraise for NASA, for the Prime Minister. He did raise money, and I know quite a substantial amount of money. Honorable Wetangula, if you remember the rallies which were taking place, actually put his head on the line. He raised issues which were outstanding issues vis-a-vis Jubilee and the NASA family. Honorable Wetangula feels that Western Province, particularly Trans Nzoia, Bungoma and the other areas where the Bukusu community and the Ford Kenya family falls in, we actually delivered 360,000 votes. Honorable Wetangula feels he worked very hard, where he brought in members of parliament, he brought in MCAs who were working for the NASA family and voted for Raila Odinga. Now, he feels the Prime Minister left him under the bus.
Okay.
Yes.
Bonadan Manzo, of course, we're looking at the other co-principal, and that's Musalia Mudavadi, saying, NASA is rattled, it is shaken. If I pretend that there are no tremors in NASA, I'd be lying. Now, these are two principles. Curiously, Raila Odinga, his whereabouts we do not know, but Kalonzo Musyoka, there's a confirmation on page 4 of the Daily Nation that he is in Azerbaijan. He left the country yesterday to Azerbaijan on an electoral monitoring mission as an observer in the capital Baku under the umbrella of the centrist Democrat International. What is Wiper's position in this? We've also seen Wiper going back and trying to get, or Kalonzo Musyoka trying to collect and reform the Ukambani base, probably in planning for the days ahead. But the fact that we can see he's taking a step backwards from this politics of NASA, where does that leave that coalition?
First of all, I want to say that NASA coalition is still together, although there are the effects of the handshake. This is what is rattling the coalition. The handshake was quite a shocker to many, but in my own observation, it is the best thing which ever happened to Kenya. And for that, politicians have to reorganize themselves. You have to bear the fact that Raila Odinga and his party, ODM, are almost 3/4 of Western Kenya. And then the Western politics really are important in the country, in that if Western was to vote as a bloc, then it will be, Kenyans will be looking at it in a different way. So first of all, I really want to challenge the Honorable Wetangula and the Honorable Mudavadi to put together Western Kenya so that they're in control of it politically, the way we have put together, the Eastern region. And then we are able to create political blocks which you can bargain with, because eventually none of these political parties can form government by themselves, and none of the Kenyan regions can produce a presidential candidate without working with other regions of the country. Therefore, that has been the calling of Kalonzo Musyoka.
Do you find these pronouncements by Moses Wetangula a bit unnecessary at this point?
No, we must appreciate the bitterness the Honorable Wetangula is going through. First of all, the ouster, and I still believe in that ouster in Parliament, that the Honorable Raila Odinga can still put his troops together, because they listen to him, and he can still reorganize what happened in Senate.
Okay.
He's got the powers to do so. And I also believe that the Senator Orengo, who has been made the new leader, could also decline to accept, for the sake of the unity in NASA.
Okay. Because I want to give you a final comment. Please, your time is over.
A small point.
Yes.
One of the issues that we have raised with our family in Fort Kenya, a commander of an army does not let his troops and his junior commanders to hang after he has signed a truce and signed an agreement for peace, to hold a truce and to bring in peace.
Yes.
The commander moves with his troops along, even when they may have made mistakes. And I think this is a reflection that you have, that within Fort Kenya Party and many other people from the Musalia side, I'm not speaking on behalf of Musalia, but I'm speaking on behalf of the Fort Kenya Party.
Yes.
Many of the people in Fort Kenya feel that the Prime Minister basically left and abandoned his troops on the way as he was going along to go and sign and have a handshake with his enemy and his opponent.
Wow. Final
you see, very quickly, and what my good friends are afraid of telling you is that NASA is dead. And NASA died immediately, immediately after the elections.
It's not even about the handshake.
It's not even about the handshake. The handshake was just cementing some things, and it brought out now what we are seeing, like Wetangula losing the seat of the minority at the Senate. And those are some of the things, those are the casualties that came in with it. But NASA was, gone, was done. We have always said, and I continue maintaining that, NASA was ODM and ODM was NASA. And the fact that many people never wanted or never believed in this, they've been shaken now when you have people like Wetangula saying, oh, I am done with Raila. Well, when you actually get to such bitterness and saying, I am done with this person, what you're saying is, I am no longer going on any other formation with him. Now, if it is in NASA, already, of course. And by the way, if you do not want to be in NASA, Raila has already done it for you. With a handshake, he removed ODM out of NASA. Meaning, either way, it died back then. Wow. So it is simple, it is simple as that. I can understand where the leader of Ford Kenya, is coming from. Yes. And honestly, I do. He feels, you've taken us for a ride for far, far too long. I know we've been with you, even, you coming to give me the support at the Senate, you are not there for me. But the fact of the matter is this. These are some of the politicians who are just hanging on Raila's political coat. And when Raila realized that, he said, you know what, everybody needs to take their own cross. So the handshake brought in some things. We've toned down in the politics of our time. It has opened, like when you were talking about the deputy president, the handshake actually played and has continued to play in his favor. It has opened up frontiers like Mombasa, where he could not go. But it has also become suicidal to some parties.